All right. Thank you to the 18 people who seem to have stuck with my my live stream page. I'm back. I'm here. I'm now outside the building that is being occupied by striking students and protesters. I was in there for more than a few hours. Decided to split because we were getting some chatter on Twitter that there was a sentiment going around that they wanted journalists, specifically Link journalists, the Link newspaper, the publication I work for, to leave. And I did see one person who was identified as a journalist sort of get accosted and harassed by some hooded people inside. They were yelling press, press, and shoved him a little bit, so he was forced out. I left of my own volition just to avoid being in a situation like that. You sort of get the sense when the mood and the atmosphere changes and gets a little weird, and it definitely did. So I'm out here. I'm going to stick with it for a little bit longer. I'm going to check the chat, and if anybody's got any questions or comments about what's going on. So I'll give you a quick recap. So we've got about, I'd estimate, maybe about 200 to 300 people in there. There were more people earlier, I'd say between 300 and 400, but right now we're probably looking at about 200 to 300. So they're in there. They're mostly university student-aged people. They're in there sort of having kind of the weirdest party you've ever been to. There's music, there's dancing, there's drinking, there's smoking, and I'm not just talking about nicotine. And basically, at a certain point, there did start to be a little bit of destruction of property, some looting, some security cameras being smashed by hammers, windows, mirrors, etc. So there is still some music being played. So I will point out that the quote-unquote occupation has been going on in there for about 3 hours plus. And actually more than 3 hours. People started gathering in there in the late afternoon after the police first went in there, made some arrests this afternoon, earlier in the afternoon. So people just sort of hung around, and there was supposed to be a march down there, actually at Place Émilie Gamelin, the park, that was supposed to start at 9 o'clock, sort of in response largely to the police response at UQAM today. That was canceled in favor of a sit-in occupation of this UQAM building. So right now we do have police on the scene. We've got police, bicycle police with high visibility jackets and riot gear. We've got some press. The police haven't moved. The police have been here for a while, for hours now, and they have not moved on the protest. They have not tried to overcome the barricades of chairs and just all manner of furniture and things that have been taken out of the university and used to barricade entrances, exits, different strategic points like the top of escalators that lead from the basement section. In fact, in the center of the atrium where I was just a moment ago, there's sort of a large opening that an escalator leads up from, and they not only barricaded it, but they really covered their bases here. They poured dish detergent on the stairs of the escalator to make them probably more difficult to navigate if somebody were to try to, and they also draped a huge sign over it to limit visibility so that anybody trying to come up wouldn't necessarily see what was going on. Let me start trying to answer some questions. So does it look like an assault is imminent? It's really hard to tell right now. I mean, you can see the police sort of milling about. They don't seem to be mobilizing for any sort of serious action. They're not surrounding the protest point, which is over there across the street. So I don't get the sense that there's going to be a serious police action soon. Again, I might eat those words. On Monday night, the police were flanking the march that I was covering, declared it illegal, and then about a few minutes after that, they moved in quite quickly, and that was very surprising. So we might have a situation like that, but I get the sense that we won't. I think you'll get the sense that something's about to happen if it's about to happen. Let's see here. So don't they need the UQAM administration to ask them to intervene? So yeah, we've heard conflicting reports that that either the UQAM University administration would need to ask the police to intervene, or that the police were waiting for the permission. I'm not 100% sure about that. I don't know if the police would necessarily need the permission if they felt that there was a situation that they need to intervene in. So yeah, that's my answer to that question. Fire safety arguments, that's a good question. I did hear some alarms going off inside the building. There were definitely people smoking. I didn't see any fires being lit or anything like that. But yeah, that argument could certainly be made because there is a lot of furniture and garbage being littered about. So yeah, maybe that argument will be made. We got a question here. Late 1, why are people outside? They should be inside. Yeah, I suspect that a lot of people that are outside here are either just observers, maybe it's people keeping a lookout, but I also suspect that maybe a lot of people who were in there might have felt the need to leave, because like I said at the start of the stream, the mood and the atmosphere got a little weird in there. I mean, obviously it was tense from the beginning because it is an occupation, but I definitely felt the tension rise at a certain point. People have been drinking. There are beer cans and wine bottles everywhere. I did smell some marijuana, so people are under the influence. Maybe the rowdiness got a little bit too high for some people and they decided to check out, but yeah, that's my impression of that. Yeah, found up saying ambulances are being requested by the SPVM. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me too much. I have heard that some ambulances are going to be mobilized around here, probably just as a precautionary measure first. That's not to exclude the possibility that they might expect that they might be moving in and that ambulances will be required, but as of now, I don't have any indication of that. Torture asking, did the police try to arrest you when you got out? No, like I said, there's actually no police near the entrance. They're on the intersection here and on the other end there. So there actually aren't any police officers near the actual entrance of the building. So there was no issue with me being hassled by police on the way out. Is it easy to get in and out? Yes and no. I did hear of a journalist who was in there, or at least somebody with a camera, who was asked to leave. He did, and from what I heard, he tried to get back in and was identified quite quickly. So from that end, it was a little bit harder for that particular person to get inside. But no, I do see some people coming in and out. There are some people, sort of guarding the door, I guess you could say. They are protesters in hoods and masks and things like that, and they're keeping a watch on the entrances. Londo 572, qu'est-ce qui se passe? So yeah, right now it is Occupation UQAM hashtag. There are protesters, students who are inside the building. They've been in there for quite a few hours, and they are protesting quite a few things. So specifically today, I guess it's about the police action that we saw here at UQAM earlier in the afternoon. Basically, there was an injunction at the school where protesters and students that were trying to block access to classes as part of their strike. The campus security called the police on them, and the reports I saw and read said that about 100 or more police officers in riot gear came into the school, and that about 22 arrests were made. So yeah, this is the end result, is that we've got a sit-in / occupation at the building where it took place. Yeah, so let me just say once more, if you can keep your questions or comments to one sentence at a time, just because I don't see the full statements. They are cut off, but I do see here, do the protesters have any escape routes planned? I believe they do. It is quite an operation in there, even though some people are just hanging around, partying, chatting. You do see some people in black masks and hoodies that are moving about all the time, sort of mobilizing to act on something, either to smash a camera or to reinforce a barricade or what have you. So I do get the sense that the barricades have been set up very strategically in there, and I would be surprised if there wasn't an exit strategy were the police to move in. The journalists that were in there certainly had an escape plan if things got hairy. If we were identified and quickly not liked by the majority of the group, I don't think the front door would have been an option. So we were sort of scoping out our options, and there is some stuff going on in the back over there. Why police don't stop people in masks? So yeah, that's. For those of you who are not from Montreal, there is a controversial bylaw in the city of Montreal called P6, and it basically underlines the illegality of marches and protests where an itinerary hasn't been provided to police, and it also stipulates that people in those protests can't cover their faces. So quite a few people in there are covering their faces, but that's the thing, is that police aren't in there. There is no police presence inside the building or even near the entrance. So basically, yeah, there's no real possibility of protesters getting arrested for covering their faces because nobody's been arrested this evening yet, as far as I know. You made it out, yay! Yes, I feel relieved too. Yeah, I should mention I wasn't trapped in there in any way. I did stay in there of my own volition. I wanted to cover it for as long as I felt safe in there. Probably push it a little bit longer than when I actually started feeling unsafe. But anyways, when things got weird, I ducked out, took the front door out. Sort of had to. It helps that I'm a native French speaker and I could sort of charm my way around and not look too conspicuous. But yeah, I did get out. So we do see some people, we do see some police mobilizing. I'm going to follow them a little bit. We've got some police on high visibility jackets and on bikes who are moving towards this side street. So I'm just going to have a quick look at what's going on. Yeah, so throughout the evening, I did a quick live stream from inside with the camera pointed squarely at me and nothing else because there were some instances where protesters saw a camera pointed in their direction and reacted quite unfavorably. In fact, while I was live streaming in there, I sort of had to, somebody came up to me and went, "Wait, you're live streaming? Oh, I don't like that." And I had to quickly sort of explain. And even I was like, "Hey, look at the screen. It just shows me. I'm not filming you guys." Again, I would have liked to have gotten some live images in there on a longer term basis, but yeah, I made the determination that was an unsafe course of action. If you go on my Twitter feed at Madamol, the handle is in the title of the stream. You will see some quick videos that I took from in there showing sort of the party atmosphere. So right now we do have more riot police coming. I'm going to get a little bit closer so you can get a better look. So we're on the intersection right now of St. Catherine and Sanguinet, and yeah, a few more riot police just arrived. So we may be seeing the ramping up of the police presence and mobilization here. So I'll stick with it for as long as I can, because yeah, we don't know where this is going to go. Looking here, just looking through the chat right now. Would police use gas in an enclosed area? Yes, they have before. I have heard of situations where police have gone into buildings and used tear gas. So yes, that's definitely a possibility. Again, no necessarily an indication that it's going to happen tonight, but yeah, it can happen. Why the vandalism? Yeah, that's not a bad question. A lot of the vandalism, as I described it, I mean, it was strategic to a certain point because they were smashing surveillance cameras. But you know, when it comes to windows and mirrors and things, don't know about that one. Are the big media companies there, like CBC La Presse, to cover the events as Torture? Yeah, there are some camera people and journalists around here, so it's not just us raggedy student journalists with our cell phones. I did actually, geez, I got a call while I was in there from CJD 800, the sort of main, well, one of the main English radio news networks, so I had to sort of try to keep a low profile while also doing a radio interview live. That was interesting, but yeah, it is being covered by major media companies. Well, it's a big story. It's not just another run-of-the-mill march that you see quite often. It's a highly publicized occupation. In fact, hashtag occupation UQAM is trending right now quite highly. So yeah, this is a big deal. We do have police mobilizing and creating a new perimeter, so I'm just going to move out of the way. Yep, so they're deciding to strengthen their numbers here, so I'm probably going to end up crossing the street to that intersection over there where there's not a lot of people. Julian McKenzie, probably the Julian McKenzie of the Link newspaper. Follow him on Twitter, Julian the intern. He's been out here quite a lot. So the question is, thoughts on protesters not wanting to be filmed? Yeah, that's a tricky one, because the main sentiment that I got from protesters who were uncomfortable with being filmed, and I heard the sentiment quite a bit, you know, spoken aloud, was you can't blur our faces out, and we don't want to be implicated on video participating in an illegal activity. So on one end, I understand that one, but then the other question is whether or not there's a reasonable expectation that you will have your face shown in a video when you're participating in a very publicized event like that. So those are my thoughts on that. Is you have to look at both sides of that, and I'm not going to provide a definitive answer, but I've defined the debate, and I hope that's good enough. Have we got any news from the 21 arrested students? No, there's been some chatter on Twitter. I did see there were some documents that were given out to people who were given fines and arrested that they had to present themselves to court. So basically, the news on that is that those 21 or 22 arrests led to the protests that we're seeing right now. Originally, it was going to take place at Place Émilie Gamelin, the park where a lot of these marches and protests originate, but that was canceled in favor of the occupation. So that's really the news on it right now, is that it's led to this response. Is it true that some occupants tried to leave the building by a broken window? I couldn't comment on that. I didn't see that. I wouldn't. I don't know if I would believe that, because there are entrances and exits that are accessible to all the protesters should they care to leave. So I never saw any indication that things got desperate enough where somebody would have to smash a window and leap out of it. No, people can leave. They're not trapped in there. Like I said, there's no police barricade. There is an entrance that is being it is being guarded by some protesters. So if they see somebody that they maybe get the sense they don't want to let in, they might make that clear. But no, people are free to leave. Yeah, so I'll keep streaming here. Questions or comments? Again, I know it's the internet and people get into a bit of a ruckus and a debate, but if we can keep the chat clear of bickering between specific people, I mean, I'd like to have the chat be a place where people can put in constructive questions about what's happening here, and not social political debates necessarily. It's not. I don't know how much you're going to accomplish in the chat. I'd love to think that it's influential, but hey, TVL's here. We got a comment in there, go in there. I was in there already for hours and hours and hours. And it got weird and tense and not necessarily safe for journalists, because they were being called out and shoved and accosted a little bit, so yeah. We got a question here. Is there a lot of vandalism inside? Well, it depends on what you would describe it as a lot, but I did see quite a bit of smashed windows, smashed mirrors. I did see a lot of surveillance cameras. Basically, if protesters with hammers saw a surveillance camera, you know, those ones, the sort of black round ones that are connected to the ceiling, they smashed them or spray painted them. Vandalism in terms of items and furniture being pulled out of classes and being used to reinforce barricades, that's also been happening. So yeah, there's quite a bit of it going on in there. Hard to tell if it's going to get worse. Like I said before, people are drinking and consuming certain substances in there, so maybe not the most clear-headed group of people amongst some of them right now, so we'll see. How many protesters inside now? I'd say roughly 200 to 300, something like that. I think at its peak it may have been somewhere between 300 and 500 ballpark, but right now it's calmed down a little bit, and a lot of the people that are outside here I would suspect were in there but decided to stay, but not necessarily in the building. Skunky Josh asks, can I confirm if they kicked me out? No, not me specifically, but we did hear some chatter on Twitter. The Link newspaper was letting us know that there was some chatter that they wanted journalists, and specifically called out Link journalists to get out. I stayed in there as long as I felt comfortable, probably a little bit longer than that. But when it got really weird and I saw two people playing soccer with a empty beer can wielding hammers, I was like, okay, maybe I should get out of there. And I did see one journalist get outed. Well, I can't confirm he was a journalist, but the crowd certainly suspected that he was, and they started shouting, press, 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 and pointing at him, and then started shoving him a little bit, so decided to take it safe to a certain extent at that point. Memes 15-1 need a beer. I'm not going to disagree with you. I mean, there's some beer in there. If I really want to, I can go get one, but no, I'm on the job. I'm on the clock. Keep it professional. Shouldn't have been drinking at something like this as Laddict 1. Well,